Hi everybody, welcome to Shivers. If you're part of our meetup group or on our Discord, you'll know that every single Monday we do a Discord movie night. Each month is a different themed, which is how we get to pick our movies. So for August, all of our movies are found footage movies. This is really what I would consider my guilty pleasure. I do love a good found footage movie, and it's surprising because I get nauseous over everything motion censored wise. But found footage movies, they really kicked off with Blair Witch. There's a couple that are earlier than that, but Blair Witch is really what put this subgenre on the map. You know, outside of psychological horror movies, I would say for me, found footage would probably come second as a subgenre. And I just think that they're a really usually cheap way of having a good campy story. My favorite horror movie of all time is As Above, So Below, and it does fall underneath this genre. It is us following Scarlett Marlowe, who is studying her father's old alchemy tablets in an attempt to find the Philosopher's Stone. So the Philosopher's Stone is a real thing. As Above, So Below, as a metaphysical topic, is a real thing. The Philosopher's Stone is also seen in Harry Potter, which is kind of fun. But it's this, think of it as just a crystal. And anybody who comes in contact with the Philosopher's Stone, whoever actually finds it, will have basically the key to all things, to all life. The idea of As Above, So Below is that nothing in this realm can really give us any power. It all comes from within. It's everything that's inside of me is outside of me. Everything that's in my head is everything that I see. Everything that I believe the world to be, so it is. And that concept of As Above, So Below is played out in this horror movie. So I love it from the perspective of we have a little bit of this metaphysical tie-in. We have a whole bunch of puzzles and riddles and things that we're trying to figure out while we're looking for this Philosopher's Stone. We have a lot of elements of actual horror. It's a scary movie. It's a good movie. Obviously, I'm biased, but you get my point. And really what we have underneath all of that is also a mirroring of Dante's Inferno and the 9 levels of hell. So we have all of that unpacking in a movie that is filmed in documentary style, which I think it's really cool and really unique. So I know As Above, So Below is not necessarily widely loved or liked, but that movie did come out in 2014, as you'll see with a lot of other found footage movies. I don't know why, but 2014 seemed to be really the year that kicked all of this off. So another movie that I've talked about a good amount of times is a movie called Atrocious. So Atrocious is a Spanish movie. So if Spanish is not your first language, this is going to be a challenging one to watch because you do have to read it the whole time. But Atrocious really focuses on these two kids who are going back to their mother's home that she grew up in. So this is all filmed in documentary style. They are searching their mom's home to just sort of figure out, like, where did mom come from and where is she from and what's her whole story and things like that. There's this giant labyrinth in the backyard, and their parents are basically like, you can explore the lands, you can do whatever you want, but do not go into that labyrinth after dark. Otherwise, people go missing, bad things start happening, and we don't really know where to find you if that does. So basically, don't say I didn't tell you. So of course, these kids, and this movie being a horror movie, they go into the labyrinth a whole bunch of times after dark. And it really is just, I think it's so scary because it's so well done in a way that does feel like you're watching a documentary, that feels like you're watching true found footage. Something where I don't know who found it, but we have all the evidence on this tape. So, and the fact that you have to read this movie does make it that much more intense, I would say, because you can't look away or you don't really know what's going on. So Atrocious is one that I would definitely throw on the list to mention when we're talking about found footage movies. Another one that doesn't really get the credit I think it deserves is The Taking of Deborah Logan. The Taking of Deborah Logan also came out in 2014. As I'm recording this is the anniversary of it. So Taking of Deborah Logan is a little bit more, I would say, pushing the line of actual horror movie and not so much found footage. But we are following this student who is following the last couple of days of Deborah Logan and her daughter, and what's going on in the house, this idea that Deborah might be possessed or she just might be an old lady dying of old age. We get to see the progression of that throughout this movie. Again, another one that is genuinely scary, that It does take a while to get to the point. It does take a while to figure out what fully is going on, and the idea that, you know, the taking of Deborah Logan, that she is being possessed. But that's really the whole point, is that you have this really slow burn horror movie that makes a point. You know, you got to go with them through this whole slow burn process and the possession of it as well. So to see that in a, we'll say, found footage adjacent subgenre, it's pretty unique. Also from 2014, if I didn't already say that. Another one to mention is The House is October Built. I know that this is really a little bit more niched to the Halloween season, but The House is October Built, one of my favorite chunks of horror movies. I used to, for a long time, say that The House is October Built was my favorite horror movie. I, of course, love it because we have the tie to Halloween. We're following these people as they're going across country to find this blue devil, blue skull, secret underground haunted attraction. So it really is a little bit of this geocaching vibe that we have within the Halloween season, and jumping from haunted house to haunted house. It's like this rock star lifestyle for geocachers that love Halloween. I mean, it's really, really cool. So the more and more that we get into the story, the more that we see that there's like all of these underground ties from haunted house to haunted house, and all of these people are in on it. We never really get, the full answer of if they are real, if they're ghosts, if they're something else entirely, if this is some sort of cult. But that's where it's really up to, what do you think? What do you think is actually going on? Again, all under this guise of Halloween. So it's a pretty cool concept. The acting is a little bit cheesy. This is a little bit more on the cheesy side of found footage, but again, that's what makes it a little bit of a guilty pleasure. So outside of The House is October Built, which also is from 2014, just crazy, we have Lake Mungo. Lake Mungo is going to be a little bit more of a brutal one that is on this list. I mentioned Blair Witch Project before. Paranormal Activity is by far the most successful found footage film that we've ever really seen. They had a budget of something like $18,000 and they're in the millions for it. So kudos to Paranormal Activity. Another one is by Eli Roth. This is called Sacrament, and this came out in 2013. The Sacrament, not that, just called Sacrament. It's a scary one. It is I would say not as high quality as some of the other ones that I have mentioned, but it is one that is worth watching. So we also then have Creep, and Creep is something that I think is incredibly unique. That will be our final Discord movie for the month, but Creep really is something that I think stands on its own. It's unique in a way that we're following only a handful of people. That the budget for a cast must have been just super small. But now we have a whole spin-off of the Creep tapes. We have that as a movie that is standalone. The idea that we have Mark Duplass, I'm not sure exactly how to say his last name, but he was in The League and a whole lot of funny things. And to have him then be into an actual found footage horror movie where he is the creep, he is this terrible guy, it's just a really cool way of what I have been saying more recently than not, of we have this crosshold and this bridge of comedy into horror, which I'm just so excited to see develop even further. Another found footage movie that I think is probably the scariest found footage movie outside of Atrocious is Grave Encounters. So Grave Encounters is from 2013, so not 2014, but still we're in this 1 year range of getting all of these bangers. Grave Encounters is really, really scary. This is not at all a movie that I would show to somebody watching horror movies for the first time, but Grave Encounters is really following the stereotypical reality TV ghost hunters as they go into this asylum. And while they're in this asylum, they not only are locked in for the night, but they're really getting more than they bargained for when they're doing all of this ghost hunting. So it's in the style that they're making a TV show. It's in the style that they're doing this overnight ghost hunt, but all genuinely actually scary. So Grave Encounters is one that no matter what your taste is for scary movies, no matter what your favorite subgenre is. I have never met anybody that doesn't like Grave Encounters. So if you haven't watched it, give it a go. And then really the last one that I'll mention for today, I wouldn't necessarily call it found footage in the stereotypical sense because we're crossing over into YouTube territory. So I've been on a little bit of a kick of watching horror shorts on YouTube, and one that keeps popping up is this channel called That's a Bad Idea. Again, these guys are comedians, really, at heart. A lot of what they do is genuinely funny, but all of their horror shorts are top tier, absolutely top tier. One in particular is called Milk and Cereal. So it's really following these kids who are friends. They find out that one of them is a serial killer, and we get this slow unraveling. But the pace of that is 10 out of 10. The buildup of it, the actual commentary of it feels a little bit like Dexter that we're leaning into, but from a way of just perspective rather than like understanding. So again, I want to throw that in at the end just for the sake of saying that it's worth mentioning. It's absolutely worth watching, but it's not an actual movie, you know, it's a YouTube movie. So yeah, check that out and maybe give them support. There's no skin in my game on that, just my recommendation. But that's really going to conclude our list for found footage movies that I think are really top tier and that are really worth watching. And of course, you know, again, As Above, So Below, my absolute all-time favorite horror movie. So yeah, let me know what you think about found footage movies as a subgenre. Do you think that they're going to grow from here? We don't really see them that much anymore. Are they dead? Are they dying? Where do they stand? And what's your opinion on them? As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.